Welcome to Southern Steep, the public health and social justice podcast brought to you by NASTAD, a nonprofit, nonpartisan association mission to end the intersecting epidemics of HIV, viral hepatitis, and related conditions. Much like Brewing Stronger Tea, this platform aims to brew a stronger community by centering community leaders' voices and their innovative work in the Southern United States.
Hello. Reporting to you live from San Antonio, Texas. This is Nicole and Jacobi from Southern Steep Brewing Stronger Community, live and in person.
It's so cold, but I'm so glad to be here. How you doing, Nicole?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
It's been a long day. We got started at 8 o'clock, and but I'm good.
It's been a long day, but it's been full of really rich conversations and really beautiful dialogue, and it's been filling up my cup personally.
Not to mention the chili, but yes, my cup is full. Lunch was awesome.
We did have chili for lunch.
We did. It almost put me to sleep, but I'm here.
We're here, and we have a guest with us today, and we'd love to know who is our guest. Tell us more about your name, your pronouns, and what organization are you with?
So my name is Noah Baker. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am the manager of HIV community planning for the Delaware HIV Consortium.
Nice. That sounds like a big responsibility.
I mean, I'm still learning about what community planning entails and what falls under the umbrella. And that's something that I find really interesting about my role, because there are so many community-based strategies that we can employ to enhance the prevention, detection, comprehensive care, and supportive services that are provided to those living with HIV and those who would benefit from HIV prevention services.
See, y'all, we haven't even asked the question, and we already diving into the content. So I can tell this is going to be a really good show. So how are you enjoying Texas? Like, what are some of your highlights from the summit so far?
I've really enjoyed the group sessions. So when we're actively applying what we were discussing in these sessions, and really just trying to develop strategies, whether it's because of traditional or non-traditional partnerships, how we can leverage the knowledge and experience of those in other states, really identifying successful strategies that have been implemented in other states, and seeing if there are any areas where we can learn more, trying to identify gaps in our service provision, and identifying strategies where we can address those gaps and incorporate coordinated efforts among stakeholders. And so I thought that this summit was really useful for that. And it really just provides a medium of communication so that everybody can learn from one another and learn from the successes and the failures at their individual organizations.
So it's already been alluded to that the summit has spent a lot of time talking about traditional and non-traditional partnerships. What does the spirit of partnership mean to you?
That's a bit of a deep question. I think that a good way to describe partnerships is collective action. So some organizations may be better suited to handle certain services that other organizations may not have the capacity to provide. And really just finding ways where you can mutually build each other's capacity, whether it's just referring individuals who would benefit from services from other organizations, or coordinated amongst organizations to see how you could have collaborative efforts so that you can work together for the benefit of the population that you serve.
Yeah, no doubt. So I definitely agree with that. I think collective impact, collective outcomes, that really speaks to like the true essence of like what partnership can be and should be. And even outside of the collective, like individual efforts that contribute to like, collective strategies, if you will.
And this cooperation is so important because of the way that this system is structured. Right. So there's the Department of Public Health throughout states, and they provide their own services. but they also provide funding to community-based organizations and help to coordinate with them so that they can implement additional services. So really just trying to make it a comprehensive care continuum and addressing gaps that certain organizations face and seeing if other organizations can help to fill those gaps, and really just finding ways to ease access to these intervention services that are so pivotal for so many.
Yeah, I think that's you really picked up on something that's been like kind of a running theme for this conference. And not only the conference, like the national conversation, like what are we doing to address gaps not only within health departments, but also CBOs and other essential support services to really provide client-centered comprehensive care. And so to your point, like us being a collective, operating as a collective, not only in communities, but through like HIV service provision, et cetera, that's really contributing to the outcome. So I really appreciate that notion of like teamwork, partnership, being a collective. And so to bridge us into the next question, what do you love about the South?
First, I want to express how kind the people are that I've ran into around here. There's really a sense of community amongst these locations. And one of the things that I find inspirational is the motivation of these organizations who are overburdened, and they are still motivated to provide these services. And in areas of the South where there are a lot of gaps in these service provision, it's really, I said it before, but it's very inspirational to see other organizations step up and try to maintain, effectively implement these services. Something that, at least that I've seen since this summit, is just how willing other organizations are from other states throughout the South who are willing to support one another. And that's really the most effective way to initiate progress.
There's a lot of Southern love going on. There's a lot to love. You've kind of talked about this a little. What do you want to see for the South?
What I want to see for the South is more collective action. In the South, where we do have, at least just thinking broadly, we have all of the biomedical tools that we need to address HIV prevention and care. I would like to see the application of these tools in a practical setting. And since we do have all of these biomedical tools and scientific advancements that have brought us where we are today, where we are in a position to reach zero new infections and eliminate HIV from active transmission, what we need is enhanced advocacy for towards legislators and policymakers, so that we can allocate the needed funds towards these essential services that many people rely on. And that's something that I would like to see advocate for progress.
Yeah, I certainly agree, like advocating for progress, but not only progress, simply what you said, advocating for like access into practical settings. Mm-hmm. And that looks like non-traditional settings, with non-traditional partners. So perhaps us building into the notion of taking out HIV clinical services out of the clinics, mm-hmm. And putting in them more progressive and innovative settings and environments for folks to be like not only attracted to the service provision, but also more inclined to like go and seek the space. So I can definitely appreciate that access piece and the advocacy piece.
And also integrating HIV services into non-traditional partnerships, maybe ones that are more active in the community. It would also go a long way towards breaking the stigma and trying to really just eliminate discrimination against something that it's a virus.
So how can people get in contact with you and your organization?
So people can get in contact with me and my organization. If you go onto Google, you look up Delaware HIV Consortium, Delaware HIV services, pretty much anything relevant to HIV in Delaware. And the Delaware HIV Consortium will likely be the first option that you see. And that's because of the close collaboration that we have with the Division of Public Health. We are the leaders of community planning throughout the state of Delaware. So I would absolutely encourage anybody to reach out. If you just call the organization's phone number, ask for Noah, you'll get in contact with me. There's also my email, nbaker@delawarehiv.org.
Noah, thank you so much for taking time to talk to Jacobi and I about the work that you're doing, your highlights from the summit, and what the spirit of partnership means to you. It's been a real pleasure, and we look forward to seeing all the incredible work you'll continue to do. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for the opportunity to join. Thank you for having me here. I've had a fantastic time at the NASTAD conference. I've learned a whole lot.
Jacobi, we're joined by another incredible guest. Can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and the organization you're with? And for those that have listened and been consistent Southern Steep listeners, you might hear this voice and know it.
So my name is Dexter Davis, and I actually currently work with the Urban League of Hampton Roads. So now we work with disparities that affect and impact the African American community. I work on the health team, so my job is to connect people with resources, but particularly from a health equity standpoint, and really spread Urban League's impact in Hampton Roads.
Nice. Look at you. See, Media Land, Dexter is such a pro at this. That literally answered my first question. So I am super excited to know that you're with a new organization and you're doing just as impactful work as you were at the other one. So in terms of impact, let's talk a little bit about the summit. Just would love to know what some of your highlights were, some takeaways so far.
Obviously, it's great. And if you're a CBO, you need to come because this is my second year and we're going to make this an annual thing. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually brought my director of health with me. So when I got the email, I said, we're going to this conference. And he said, sure. But I've enjoyed it because our goal was coalition building and collaboration. And it has been peaceful to hear other people's experiences and their struggles, but also to hear their champions and their wins. And to have people remind you, you're not in this alone and that it is one moment at a time, one step at a time. The workshop that I just finished with Nicole was amazing and fire because it was about status neutrality. And at Urban League right now, our funding is very specific to the Ryan White program and to people living with HIV. But we realized that in order to curb the spread, we need to have everybody involved. This affects everyone. And so it's really nice because many of these cities have an Urban League, which is another possible partnership. We have a variety of affiliates that can be built, but what was amazing was hearing other people give innovative suggestions, but also validate that hill that we're climbing over. And with the status neutral approach, it was great to talk about updating forms, updating language, trying to get our community partners involved. The first session was also very nice because when we think about coalition building, I think I went into it thinking it's going to be how do you meet people, but it was actually about policy and understanding, the breakdown, who talks to who, and that networking is very important. And I think one of the biggest highlights I took away was, strengthen your strengths. That was what Mike Todd said as one of his sermons recently, was strengthen your strengths. There are some people who are into policy, and listening to them talk about it, they were passionate, they understood the system. And I'm like, these are the kind of partnerships that we need to leverage. Whereas I love prep, I love sexual health education, I'm a nerd on that. So that is my strong suit. But to hear so many diverse people come and talk in their strengths and realize that, wow, we are sharper together.
We're not going to be able to end this epidemic in a silo. And I love that you were talking about how organizations or people, strengthen those strengths. And not everyone's going to be a policy wonk, and that's okay. Not everyone's going to be a prep nerd. That's cool. But how can we partner with those folks that are? Which leads to my next question about what does the spirit of partnership mean to you?
The spirit of partnership for me is unity and servant leadership. It is the moment that you realize that we're all spirits having a human experience and that they're having different types of experiences. So that partnership is realizing that just because I have a strength, I also have a weakness. That also means that someone else's weakness is my strength and vice versa. And so that beauty in partnerships is realizing that you don't have to do it alone. And I think we forget that sometimes because we're in our own body having a singular experience, but to realize that other people are sharing in this experience, that again, it's an uplifting thing. When it comes to partnership, we're social creatures. We're not meant to do this alone. I mean, that's why babies are cute. They're cute so that we take care of them, right? So we're built to have community. And I think that in the spirit of partnership, it is one of those things that fear of rejection sometimes is stronger than the benefits of the actual collaboration. And so I think that when we focus on the spirit and the strength of collaboration, of the growth that comes out of partnerships, Rome wasn't built in a day and it wasn't built by a person. So when we can look at the benefit of that and realize that that fear of rejection is universal, that if we delve in that uncertainty and we push through that, that's where that partnership, most partnerships and most great things were not built when things were going great and easy, so your best partnerships are usually built in chaos. And I think that partnerships are the beauty that comes out of chaos, kind of like a diamond. It's the beauty that you get from pressuring and coal.
What do you say to that?
Mic drop.
What do you, certainly mic drop. I'm almost afraid to follow up. No, but I certainly agree with that. I forget who made the quote, but they said partnership dies when transaction comes into play. Mm-hmm. And what they meant by that was there should be an equal emotional diet, an equality and a reciprocity, if you will, in terms of partnership. We should be fighting for the same thing with no expectation that there be some type of transaction, like a give for a give or a take for a take. And I think to your point, when we talk about partnerships, we always, by de facto, especially in this space, go to, collaborative agreement or, MOU, you give me something, I give you something. But of course, the true essence of partnership, like you said, it comes out of a need and a struggle, if you will, to improve a system, to improve the life of not only just one, but for all. So I certainly appreciate what you said. I love the sentiment and the notion, which goes into my next point. What do you love about the South?
There's a special culture here that is one of heart. I recently lost my chosen mother, who was like my mother. And one of the things that has been so monumental in this experience is watching people come together because they realize that they all share the same pain. This one person, for example, the power of a person. This one person showed us that you have such an impact. And when people can look at you and see a part of themselves, they move differently when they can see the humanity in themselves. And so it's one of the things that I've noticed about the South, given our problematic histories, given those things, we're steeped in controversy, but at the end of the day, we collaborate, we come together when it's necessary. And one of the beautiful things about Southern hospitality is here, people will let you know. They're gonna let you know. They're gonna hold you accountable, but it can be fun, and it can also be, you're human. I don't expect you to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. So I'm going to hold you accountable. We might laugh it off. I need you to do better. And that's one thing that's very common down here is how do we approach that? But it's that accountability that I love about the South, which also comes with pleasantry. I'm going to feed you, but I also need you to do better. You can get both.
First, thank you so much for sharing about your chosen mother, and sorry, our condolences for your loss. While you were talking, it made me think about the Marvel quote, what is grief? Grief is not a consequence of loss, but rather your love living on, persevering. And I just thought, yeah.
This summit, one of the reasons I was very thankful for this was that when she passed, it was very tragic, but her prep worker reached out to me. And her prep worker works at the health department. And so she reached out because she's like, she talked about you. I didn't have to know your name, but she talked about you and I knew how to find you. And what it opened my eyes to was that, like you said, this transaction. When we go into this field, we're balancing the very real lived experiences of people with the fact that there is a price tag that comes with a lot of things. There's paperwork, there's policies, there's procedures, but sometimes we lose the humanity. And what this worker brought to me was, I was like, wow, she was genuinely impacted. And I do the same kind of work she does. I haven't lost a client yet, but my director has. Several people at Urban League, we have older clients. Some of our clients have been in care with us for almost 30 years. Some of them have been around since the AIDS epidemic. And so what it brought to me was, these spaces are sacred because what happens to us? We're the ones that sometimes we're the only person that these people know. So yeah, we could talk about burnout, but what happens when a life is lost? There's a legacy, there's a hurt that's for the caseworkers, for the community workers. And being here, it's beautiful to be surrounded with other people who understand what it's like to feel for someone, but due to a HIPAA, you can't talk about who they are. So you have to grieve, but for us, you don't get bereavement when a client passes. You got to go back to work the next day. So again, to put that humanness into it is something that I'm just so grateful for coming to this experience.
And you are helping her live on in her memory. So thank you for that. I just have another question. What do you want to see for the South?
I want to see more spaces like this. I think when we focus on like trying to change individual people, but like Leo Tolstoy says, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. And in the South, I want to see leadership development. I want to see the theater improv mantra of yes and. In theater, that's how you get through an improv scene. You don't know what the other person's going to say. Your job is to make the other person look good. If I make you look good and you make me look good, we should look good together. So here, I would love to see a yes and mindset. Like yes and. My mother was very much, people say treat people the way that you were treated, but that's not how she lived. She treated people with more respect than they gave her. And that's what I want to see in the South. I'm going to respect you because maybe the mission's not going to end with me, but I'm a messenger. And what I want to see in the South is that resilience, that passion, all of that being cultivated in that leadership development and being reminded that, yes, we can, and that's the key.
So how can people get in contact with you and your organization?
So for the Urban League, we are at ulhr.org. I have a personal website, which is Dexter-Davis.com. So you can check us out in either one or on Facebook. I'm under Facebook as Sterling Black because why not? But for the Urban League, check us out. We just finished MLK Day, which was our largest fundraiser, and we had almost 1,400 guests and raised quite a bit of funds and have been doing some great things. So please check us out and check out the local Urban League near you. They are here to help.
What a great example of partnership opportunities. Check out your local Urban League. Dexter, thanks for wanting to come back and catch us up on how things are going. It has been a true pleasure getting to speak with you again, and we can't wait to see you at the third summit.
You already know.
Stay tuned for that. And over and out. We're excited to welcome another guest. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what your name is, your pronouns, and your organization?
Hi, my name is Yvonne Arizpe. My pronouns are she, her, ella. This is my first time attending the CBO Summit, so I'm really happy to be here, happy to be at this table. I work for Legacy Community Health. We are the largest federally qualified health center in Texas, I believe. We serve the Houston community. I was born and raised in Houston, so currently my role in this organization is a HIV prevention specialist. So I work doing HIV tests, linking people into care, educating people around PrEP, HIV, reducing stigma. So that's kind of like the scope of my work.
Nice. I got my start in Houston. My first job was at the Houston Health Department, and then subsequently, when that contract ended, I was hired on at Be Busy.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so nice. It's nice to have another person
Right,
from
another
Houston in the space.
Houstonian. Come on,
And
Space City.
Beyonce is from Houston. So let's get into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization?
I'm really proud to work for Legacy because I know that whenever the HIV epidemic started, it was not common for like hospitals and clinics to see patients that were being diagnosed with HIV. Legacy was one of those first clinics in Houston to start offering services to people living with HIV. So I'm really proud to be part of this history. We have a lot of patients that are underinsured that are dealing with different social determinants of health, a lot of overlapping health disparities. So I think that we get to see a lot, not just the LGBTQ community, but we see a lot of immigrant mothers, a lot of Latino community that doesn't have insurance or undocumented, just low income people in general.
Last year, my colleague Gerald and I had the opportunity to go visit Legacy Health and do a whole, community-based organization informational visit. And it was just so cool to see all of the different services that are being offered and literally the legacy that Legacy has in Houston. So it's really awesome that y'all are doing that work. You mentioned that this is your first time attending the summit. This is our second annual summit. What have been some highlights of the summit so far for you?
Honestly, the entire summit for me has been a highlight, not just because it's all new to me, but I've never been around so many people working in this field. So it feels like we all speak the same language. It feels like we kind of all understand the everyday scope of our work. So it's really nice to feel solidarity with other people that are working, doing the same thing. Being fairly new in this field, I did feel like I needed kind of something to ground myself in. And this summit has really helped to kind of identify where I should be grounding myself as far as like developing myself as a leader. Something I didn't mention earlier that I do at Legacy is I'm part of a program called NASTAD HTX. It's a outreach program for the Latino community. We try to recruit Latino MSM between the ages of 18 and 34 to join, but honestly, we accept anyone. We're like our own little community. We're really active in the digital space on social media, but we also host weekly groups in person, and we have a safe space. So we try to use that safe space to bring people in the community in, to have conversations to reduce stigma and just create that consistency where every week people know that there's a space for them to come in, to kind of vent, to kind of de-stress, and honestly come for us for anything that they need. And so something that we try to be consistent with is providing food at this event. So every week we try to cook something or I just have something to eat for our members. And we find that kind of keeps people coming back in. Food can also be a really good way to bond with people and just share like a laugh, share joy. And so I think that that's something that I want to continue to do with Legacy.
Nice. Okay, and so you talked about a lot of intersectional programs and kind of referenced how programs can kind of collaborate in terms of like reaching impact. What does the spirit of partnership mean to you, since we're on the topic of like, bridging resources?
Right. So I think partnerships to me have been essential for my program, for the program that I work for at Amistades. Partnerships are the way we kind of find more resources and we find commonalities so we're not having to do double the work. For example, some of our members work for other organizations in Houston, nonprofits, other CBOs. And so we'll tell each other about different reunions, different resources, kind of plug each other into those networks, into those resources. This kind of sort of to me is a partnership, a little less formal, but I do see there's a lot of potential between the emerging leaders in this field and people that have been doing this work for a long time. So in the Houston community, there are a few trans leaders, transgender women who are leaders in the community. And then when you start to look at like the trans Latina community, it starts to get into like a smaller and smaller bubble. Usually in those leadership roles, you'll see like older trans women. Something I've been trying to do is like engage younger people, engage youth in that process of becoming advocates and becoming involved in the process of advocating, knowing that there's meetings going on, that there's ways for you to get involved. That way we can kind of form this network where peer to peer, we're helping each other, not just feeling not just kind of plugging in resources, but creating something sustainable where as people learn about resources and opportunities and they become better themselves, they can help other people achieve the same.
Like a leadership pipeline in a way.
Right.
Just like having that think tank of resources and just that pipeline of people that, you know, you're building more and more leadership and empowering others as you go along.
Right.
So I'm going to ask a two-part question. The first part is, what do you love about the South? And the second part is, what would you like to see for the South?
So what I love about the South is that I see us as an oasis. So I grew up in Houston. Houston has always been my bubble. So I feel like I was protected from a lot of like what Texas is known for, being conservative, being really rural. I love that Houston has these pockets, these little oases where you'll find so much culture, so much diversity. And it's not even like, I don't even see it as a mix of cultures. Like you have a lot of like Hispanics, Mexicans, Central Americans, and we have a large like Asian population, Black population, just a mix of demographics. But in itself, it becomes a culture. So like we all understand that there's like a Houston culture. San Antonio understands there's a San Antonio culture, Dallas. So I think it's great to see people finding these pockets of like places where we're trying to make change happen, even though maybe as a whole, Texas has a lot of work to do. But I love that we form pockets of support, joy, and hopefully that can become something that spreads throughout all of Texas and obviously everywhere else. And then something that I really want to see for Texas, for Houston, I guess coming back to the analogy of being an oasis, feeling like Houston and the larger cities are oases, I would love to see like Texas flooded with, I think, just an energy of hope so that all the leaders working across the state to try to achieve the changes in legislation, the changes in policies from like the highest level to the lowest levels amongst organizations, so that we can all be kind of working together on the same page and knowing that our work doesn't happen in silos. Our work is all connected, and we're all kind of making that progress towards achieving what hopefully one day will be a like more even playing field for everybody, despite, you know, where you come from, your background, how much money you have.
All right. To the Houstonian in the house, how can people contact you and your organization?
So people can find more information about myself and the program Amistades that I am a part of by searching Legacy Community Health online, Amistades HTX. You can find us on our social media using that alias, Amistades HTX. And then you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram as Yvonne Arizpe. And then my social media handle is Chiquititex, CHIKITTX.
Yvonne, it's been truly a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Y'all are wonderful people, and I'm so happy to get to meet all of you because hopefully I'll see you in the future. And
the journey's just beginning. This is definitely not the end, and we look forward to seeing all the incredible work you'll continue to do. So thanks so much for being on Southern Steep and for being here and for being you, and thanks.
Oh, thank you guys so much.
We are joined by another incredible guest today, and I'm really excited to learn more about this amazing individual. So before I spoil anything, let's hear more about who they are. Welcome to the podcast. Who are you? Tell us more about you, like what's your name, your organization, what's going on, your pronouns.
Cool. My name is William Wheaton. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. So, I'm kind of close to home. I identify as he, him pronouns, and I work for an organization called Positive Impact Health Centers in Atlanta. And we're a community-based organization that does HIV treatment, testing, mental health services, housing, the whole shebang.
One-stop shop.
We are a one-stop shop. So much so that you can leave out with any medication you need. Well, PrEP or HIV treatment medication, at least. I'm sure the pharmacy does some other things, but that is not my lane.
Nice. Welcome, Will.
Thank you.
Literally was about to ask you about your organization, but you already answered that question.
I think I'm prepared for that question.
I know,
I got my
right?
elevator pitch.
Literally, y'all, the folks are so excited to tell us about the amazing work that they're doing at the organizations. Not to mention, we have another Houstonian, so that's 2 of 4. Wow, we really are in the South. I appreciate that. So, Will, can you tell us some of your highlights from the summit so far?
I think the connections that I've made, meeting all the people who are doing this work has been the most amazing part. I've gotten a lot of great information out of the sessions. It's been a building experience upon things I've already known. But I think the biggest thing has been just meeting people, hearing about the work that they do, hearing about the impact that they have. And I've picked up some lessons that I think we can take back and implement pretty readily, which is not something I came in expecting. But now I'm leaving with some things that I can put in place relatively easily, which is dope.
That is dope. Mm-hmm. And what a great takeaway. Mm-hmm. Not every time you attend a summit do you expect to actually leave with things. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that you've added some gems and some tools to your toolkit. As you know, this summit's theme has been a lot about partnerships. Can you talk to us a little bit about what the spirit of partnership means to you?
The spirit of partnership to me is try everything possible. Finding unique ways to reach the people that we're trying to help. Because I think one of the cool things about partnerships is that you can leverage the things that you're doing to be able to enhance the work that other people are doing and make a really good equation, just building upon all of that cool work. And then identifying people that are not in the space that you're necessarily in, but are reaching the people that you're trying to reach. So, like I mentioned earlier in one of the sessions, going to sex parties and bathhouses and being comfortable with being uncomfortable sometimes, because the work that we do will necessitate comfortability at times. And so I just think using partnerships in that vein has been really cool. And I love to hear about how so many organizations are using partnerships to enhance their goals. And they're trying a whole bunch of stuff, which is cool. I don't know, I'm trying not to cuss, but they're trying a whole bunch of stuff, which is really dope.
No, they really, really are. And it's good. And it's so funny. Like, the South is usually the first set of folks to try those innovative type partnerships. And then it kind of trickles through. So that's one of the things I appreciate about the South.
We got something to say.
We do. Sometimes not enough. Sometimes not enough.
Right.
But to that point, I have a 2-part question for you.
Okay.
What do you love about the South? And what do you want to see for the South?
So, I kind of knew this question was coming because I heard that y'all always ask this question on the podcast. So 2 things I love about the South is the mild winters. But generally, I love the fact that it does not snow because I'm not a fan of the cold. Another thing that I love about the South is the idea of space. The South appreciates physical space, so we build out as opposed to up, which I think is so cool. But also, we kind of have like a metaphorical sense of space as well, where individuality and giving people the space and room to kind of chart their own path, I think is really dope. And on like an agency level or a community-based organization level, organizations in the South kind of have a certain creativity because there's a certain freedom that comes with the work that they do, and flexibility. And I think it's a uniquely Southern thing. And you can see it in the food too. The food in the South is real creative because that idea of space. Give us the space to do it and we'll create magic.
You are creating some magic.
Yeah, I try to.
How can people get in contact with you and
Okay.
your organization?
Cool. Well, you can follow me on Instagram at other Wheaton. And then as far as our organization, positiveImpactHealthCenters.org. You can find any of our socials. Our acronym is PIHCATL. And so we're on all of the big socials. And so follow us, tap in, figure out the work that we're doing. If you are listening from Atlanta, we would love to be able to tap in with you, serve you, give us tips and tricks that we could use to achieve this goal of ending transmission and getting community viral load to zero.
Thank you so much. I just realized that I skipped your answer on what you'd like to see for the South.
Oh, what do I want to see for the South? I want to, more than anything, I would love to see the disproportionate effects of everything just be eliminated. We're talking specifically about HIV right now, but when you look across the board, the South is just disproportionately affected by so many things. And I think it's because of access and information and stigma. And I want to see all of that eliminated because there's so much richness to the South. A lot of people are flocking to the South for a reason. And I think just cultivating that and allowing it to flourish is going to be a beautiful thing. So that's what I would love to see for my Southern United States region.
It's been a pleasure, truly. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank y'all so much for doing this.
We've had some folks that were new time podcasters. We've had folks from Virginia. We had some Houston representation. We've had some Delaware, which, that's the wild card. Not many people know that Delaware is considered part of the CDC region, defined of the. Not a lot of people know that CDC defines Delaware as being part of the South. We've had some Georgia representation. We've had some pretty solid conversations today. Really good Southern CBO Summit turnout.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to see how folks, while they have different experiences in the work, everyone pretty much wants the same outcome: to do the work for a community, reduce disparities, and just get the best possible collective outcomes as possible. So,
yeah, it's been really beautiful to hear people's highlights of the summit and takeaways they've had and how they feel about the spirit of partnership. It's been a really good time.
It has. So, Nicole, are you about ready to sign off?
I think it's time. I'm Nicole Ellenoff.
And I am Jacobi on the right.
Thanks for listening.